Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. If you'd like to just introduce yourself in the chat, include your name, where you're joining us from, and one thing you're excited for your student to experience here at Temple. And just throw that right in the chat feature. Again, as more folks are joining us, if you just want to introduce yourselves in the chat, include your name, where you're joining us from, and one thing you're excited for your student to experience here at Temple. Put it right in the chat. Someone from California, good morning. Wow, someone from Dubai, welcome. Someone from Denver, Colorado, good morning. All my East Coast folks, good afternoon. Again, as more folks are joining us, if you just want to throw in the chat your name, where you're joining us from, and one thing you're excited for your student to experience here at Temple, put it right in the chat. Oh, wow, someone from Nigeria, welcome. See someone from New Jersey, shout out Jersey, that's where I'm from, welcome. Someone from India, wow, welcome. Okay, as more folks are joining us, if you just want to throw your name, where you're joining us from, and one thing you're excited for your student to experience here at Temple, put it right in the chat. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Parent and Family Orientation Family to Family Ask the Experts webinar. My name is Olivia, and I am the summer graduate intern here for the Office of New Student and Family Programs at Temple University. We are so glad that you decided to join us. We would love to know more about everyone who is with us today. So please continue to introduce yourself in the chat. Include your name and where you're from so we know who is joining us. We have enabled closed captions for this session. To view the captions, please click Captions, then select Show Captions. This session will be recorded, and the slides and links will be shared after today on the Parent and Family Orientation Hub. Today's panelists are representatives from the Temple Family Council. This council is a group of diverse, highly dedicated Temple family members who volunteer their time and knowledge to enhance the Temple student and family experience. We'll start by having them share a brief introduction of themselves before we move into their presentation. Following their presentation, we will have a Q&A session for the remainder of our time together. So get your questions ready. We will get started with our presentations and Q&A in a moment, but there are a few announcements to share first. You have likely noticed your audio and video are muted. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see and hear you. So please submit your questions by using the Q&A feature. To do so, just click the Q&A button to open the window, then type your question in the text field. If you want your question to be anonymous, check the Send Anonymously checkbox, then click Send. Your question will not be viewable to the rest of the participants until it has been answered. We will share helpful links related to the questions that have been asked in the chat. so make sure to check the chat throughout the panel. We'll do our very best to answer as many questions as we can today. If we're unable to answer all of the questions, we'll provide contact information at the end for you to follow up with the appropriate member for your specific question. If you have any questions related to student involvement or health and well-being, do not worry, as we will provide their session dates at the end of our webinar. If you have questions about student finances, housing and meal plans, safety, student conduct, the care team, or academic life, you can go to the Parent and Family Experience portal to see the webinar recordings. Okay, we're ready for our Temple Family Council members to introduce themselves to you. Now I'll start with Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Geiter. I am from Delaware. This will be my second year coming up on the Temple Family Council. My daughter will be a sophomore here next month, and she is a psychology major with a minor in criminal justice. So she is in the College of Liberal Arts. And I'm excited to be here and answer any questions that you might have. I am going to toss it over to Morris.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Morris Scott. I'm just really happy to be with you here today. I've been on the council for 3 years, going on 4. And my son is a senior. Really happy about that. A senior in Fox School of Business. He's minoring in music. I live in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, so a little close, but far enough away that I get to make frequent trips to the Temple campus, and I'll have a lot to say about that, but just really happy to be here with you. And I will pop it over to Dana.
Thanks, Morris. Hi, my name is Dana Deardoff St. George. I'm from the western suburbs of Philadelphia, so about an hour away from campus. This is my second year on the Temple Family Council. My daughter is a senior, or she will be a senior. She's in the Fox School of Business. She's on a pre-law track, and she's also a cheerleader for Temple University. So I'm really excited to be on the council and to provide whatever insights and help that I can provide for you today. And I'm going to pop it over to Marlise.
Hi, Marlise Campbell. My son is going into his second year at Temple. He is an accounting student from the Fox School of Business. I have been on the council. This is my second year on the council. We are from White House Station, New Jersey, Central New Jersey. Excited to be on the council and contribute in any way that I can. We've had a positive experience, so I'm hoping to share some of that experience with you, with the members. I will pass it on to Sunny.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sunny Pelham from Baltimore, Maryland. This is my second year on the council. My son, Mays, he is going to be a sophomore this year. He is a music technology major with a minor in computer science. And he has really loved his experience at Temple so far. I think I'm the last one. Yes.
So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the Temple Family Council. We are a group of volunteer parents who, provides our time and knowledge to help essentially be a bridge between the university and other Temple families. So we try to foster communications between the university and Temple families, and then provide support to different functions and events similar to this one. And then we do other information and educational experiences virtually and in person throughout the year. It's a great experience. We have a great group of parents on the council, and we really enjoy our time and the opportunity to contribute to the university in a meaningful way.
Okay, it is time for our panelists to answer your questions. Please post any questions you have in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen where you see a question mark. Okay, our first question. Does your student come home often or do you visit them at Temple?
I can speak to what my student does. My student doesn't come home often. She has a lot of commitments on campus, but because we're an hour away, we have the opportunity to visit her. And the city of Philadelphia, we've learned a lot of great restaurants and a lot of great culture, and we've really enjoyed it. So while she doesn't come home a lot, we do have an opportunity to see her often at sporting events or other things on the Temple campus.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would ditto that as well. I'm an hour and a half away from campus, so he doesn't come home a lot. But we do. It's easy to go visit, and so we do visit frequently. But he just enjoys it. He doesn't, because even right now he's raring to go back to school. He's got another month home. He's ready to go back.
Thank you.
My
Go ahead.
perspective is a little bit different. I live in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, so it's probably, depending upon traffic, between 30 minutes to 45 minutes from the campus. So my son does come home frequently. I did make the decision of having him stay on campus for purposes of independence and for purposes of just growing up and things like that, and experiencing the college life and so forth. So he does. I do have occasion to visit the campus very often, and to see what the campus is like. And I'll just leave it there. I'm sure I'll get more into it later. But yeah, he's come home very often, but not forcibly coming home. I leave it up to him. In other words, if he wants to take a weekend and say, "Look, I'm not going home this weekend," I'm not like saying, well, what's going on? How come you're not coming home? It's totally up to him if he wants to come home.
Yeah, it's a little different from that as well, because my son doesn't come home often. I think the one time I think for his freshman year, for his last year, he came home maybe once his first semester. And when he came home, he said, well, I didn't want it to be weird because other students were going home and I didn't come home, but I'm having such a good time. I didn't really, it's not because I was missing to be home, but yeah, he doesn't come home often, but we do go because we're about an hour and 45 minutes. We do drive down and we do try to attend like some games, and there's so much going on in the city. So we always try to, on the weekends, try to go and visit him.
Okay, great. Our next question. What advice would you provide to a first-time parent to assist with the move-in process?
I'll jump in here. So my advice, I was very fortunate. My daughter is more of a minimalist. So I didn't have to do a whole lot, but I did share with her things. There's some social media pages that you can join. There's also some really good information on the Family Council portal, where I think there was an article that addressed this topic previously. But there are lists out there that help with some of the basic necessities that the students will need when they come to campus. I think it's better to send them with less and then they can discover what they need, versus sending them with more, and then depending on where you live, trying to get that home can be quite challenging. Most of what my daughter took, she used. Again, she's a minimalist, so we were very fortunate. So I think the best advice is just try to help offer guidance, encourage them to make a list of what they need, but really leave it up to them to make the determination of what they think that they need to take, because it's their chance to really start off for the first time being independent.
I agree. I have a son. He didn't really need a lot. He didn't want to take a lot of stuff, and if he found that there were other things that he needed, we can always order and have it delivered. And they have a pretty good system of delivering items to the dorms and making sure they have access to them. So that it was very easy to send something over if he needed it. But I would say, depending on the dorms, my son stayed at J&H, which is Johnson and Hardwick. So its rooms was very small. He had a double, so you know, he didn't take a lot of items. And I would recommend not sending a whole lot, as Stephanie said.
I would just add some practical things. Be early because the lines are long. So be as early as you can. The security might be telling you, do this, don't do that, might be rushing you. Don't be offended by that. They're just really trying to keep order and things like that. Another thing that we did one year, we were able to do this, myself and my wife. We met the parents of the other roommates. My wife is like very friendly, so I think the mother of another roommate asked her for her telephone number, and she gave it to her, and she said, "Look, we're far away, but you guys are a whole lot nearer. So if there's something that comes up, an emergency situation, we'd like to stay in contact with you." And I thought that was really, really good. And then finally, I'd say that you know, especially if it's your first time, you're going to be anxious, feel maybe a little bit of anxiety when you leave. It's totally okay. It's totally okay. It's a process and you'll get through it.
Okay, our next question kind of goes along with that. But what can our students expect the first week at Temple, specifically the week they check into the dorm?
Well, I know last year it seemed there were a lot of events for, especially the freshmen were there a week early. So there was events every day for them to attend. So it was always something for them to do, something to get involved with. And like Morris just mentioned, he had reached out to his roommate earlier before the school year even started because he had the contact information. And they had planned to go to a concert the night before, which we weren't too happy about, but they did it. They were going to do it, but then it got canceled, so they ended up not going. But he was already connected with them, so that always helped. They had plans in order, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, and I would just want to add, my daughter was at 1300 last year, and in addition to all the events that are taking place on campus, the dorms, I believe, are also holding activities as well. So just to clarify that, which really gave my daughter a great chance to not only meet, other students on throughout the dorm, but also specifically with her floor. So there's just so much, and my daughter was like, "Mom, I can't get to everything as much as I want to." So I don't think there'll be a lack of activities and socialization.
I think they posted, I see the link there, but it's called Weeks of Welcome, which is what new students, the whole week, it's called Weeks of Welcome. I would say take a look at it because they can actually see what activities they want to participate in, and they have a schedule for every day of the week, so they can pick and choose and already be aware of what's going to happen on campus and how they want to be involved. So that's a really good resource to access.
Okay, our next question. Our student is from Colorado, a long distance to travel home. Do you have any tips on how to ease family separation?
Well, I don't have a whole lot to share as far as the distance since I'm about an hour away, but we definitely encouraged our daughter to take this chance to spread her wings, but also asked her to touch base with us, once a week, a couple times a week as she felt, comfortable or available. We found text messaging was much more convenient, and we did that. The first couple weeks, we did that probably every 2 to 3 days. It was very hard my daughter's our only child, and we're very close. So it was very difficult for me. But I tried to, again, encourage her to take advantage of all the opportunities. And surprisingly, there were lulls. Well, I shouldn't say surprisingly. Unsurprising, there were lulls. And I wanted to reach out and I didn't. But as the semester went on in the fall and then the spring semester, we talked very regularly, a few times a week. So I think it was just a matter of giving her and encouraging her to do her thing. And then she slowly came back and things were pretty normal as when she was living at home. So that was my experience.
What we did was just once a week we did a FaceTime, and we let him pick the time that was convenient for him to schedule the time. But yeah, just once a week we would check in that way. So just to kind of ease the tension on our end.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you know how the roommate selection process works, specifically for when a student's originally assigned roommate leaves?
I actually had this happen. I'm not trying to talk too much, but this actually happened to my daughter last year. She met her roommate. They were planning everything, coordinating what they wanted their room to look like, who was going to bring what. And then she ended up deciding to go to another university. So we didn't quite know how to handle it. We were being told it was possible she could have a private room at that point, which we didn't think was probably going to happen with the number of incoming freshmen. But within about a week, she was assigned a new roommate. Now, we're not quite sure if her roommate picked her or if it just got assigned. So I can't answer that specifically. And it was a little challenging at times. Her roommate's from Florida. So it was a little challenging connecting and so forth from that perspective. But I will end with, it turned out really well, and they're going to be roommates again in this coming fall in an apartment. So it turned out very well.
Okay, great. The next question, will there be family events on campus?
I mean, I'm assuming that homecoming is one of those family events. I've already set the date. I had a great time last year. I'm looking forward to it again this year for family events. But I guess, as if you're able to be on campus, it's just anytime we come, we take his roommate, his friends, try to, create like a little community, take them out to eat and things like that. But as far as a structured family event, it's homecoming is kind of like the highlight of it, and that's the one that I attended that I can speak to, and it was really great. It was a great feeling to be on campus and see all the activities that they had going on.
Now, obviously, they have the sports teams, which are really good sports teams. So you can plan around those games. And of course, Philadelphia is a place that has numerous hotel accommodations and things like that. So it shouldn't be a problem getting accommodations. So that.
Just to go off of what Marlise was saying, homecoming and family weekend is October 10th, 11th, and 12th. So mark your calendars because that's a great time to come visit your student. The next question, do you know of any resources or groups available for students who may need help with organizing their space or planning time?
I don't have the details on this, but I know that they have counselors that are assigned that I'm sure that they could either provide that assistance, or if they do not, then I'm sure they can point you to the proper individual or department that can provide that service.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question, what are some good things to know about the dorms and laundry facilities?
As far as the laundry facilities, I think the cool thing that's available is they can either download an app and they can load money and pay for their usage that way, or they can use quarters. My daughter actually elected to go get quarters and do it the old-fashioned way, which I thought was kind of amusing. And so again, she was in 1300 and she was on the second floor on the south side. So I don't know how many students, but I will say she really didn't find it difficult to use the laundry facilities. She kind of learned what people's routines were and kind of based her scheduling on what she found was more available. And everybody seemed, for the most part, to be pretty courteous and not, remove someone's laundry and put it, in a basket and stuff, that people were pretty courteous. As far as I forget what the other question was, the first question. But just the dorms in general, I mean, there was a lot of activities. The kids were really supportive of one another. The RA, she said, was great, was really helpful. She had an open door policy, and if she ever needed anything, was able to do that. They're secure, which is fabulous. So we didn't have any issues there worrying about, random people just entering the building. It was just a relatively great experience, especially having a daughter and being on her own for the first time.
Yeah, my son was in 1940 this past year, and he really enjoyed being there. He really was able to connect with other kids on his floor and throughout the dorm. And he really liked the convenience because it was across the street from the dining hall in J&H, and he was really close to his classes up the street. I believe he'll be in 1300 on the other side next year. But he really, he didn't have any complaints about the dorms at all.
Yeah, my experience, my son right now is the second of our children that attended Temple. So my experience is not just with the present child at Temple, but with the previous one as well. They pretty much stayed in the 1300 and also in Morgan. And then my older son also lived in the View as well. But no problems. There are some issues. You always have issues because you have people coming from different backgrounds and things like that. But you learn how to resolve those. But no major problems. We found it to be pretty clean. No problem with laundry and things like that. With the RA was very organized and things like that. So really little or no issues to complain about at all from either child.
Yeah, just wanted to bring like a J&H perspective because that's a communal bathrooms. My son actually opted to stay there, and we encouraged him because we heard that it's easier to make friends because it's communal bathroom. And for some reason, J&H, they kind of like formed their own little family there. So it was very easy for him to meet new people and make friends. And they have a lot of activities in the dorms. What we recommended to him was to make sure he chose a room that was like not too high, not on the floor. So he stayed on the fourth floor. So that came into play in the morning. If he's trying to rush out, then there's a long line to get on the elevator. He could just get on the stairs and easily get out or move around. And the benefit was the cafeteria is in J&H in Johnson and Hardwick. So as you're making your decisions, it gets to be it was very easy for him. I actually ended up increasing his meal plan to unlimited meal plan because he wanted to eat as much as he could, and the food was right there in his dorm. So that was an advantage. He didn't have any issues. The bathrooms, he said, even though they were communals, they had people cleaning them on a regular basis. So there was constantly people coming in and cleaning the bathrooms. Yeah, so that, as far as communal bathroom is concerned, that's as good as it gets if it's being cleaned on a regular basis. But he didn't have any issues with Jan H. He was pretty, he actually liked the experience because he got to meet so many people. It's very easy to make friends.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I lived at Morgan my freshman year, and your students are responsible for cleaning their own bathrooms. So it is nice at Johnson and Hardwick that they have someone cleaning the communal bathrooms, and that your student isn't necessarily responsible for that. And just a follow-up question. How many of your students have stayed in the dorm after their first year?
My son is going to be in another dorm this year after his first year. He's going to be going from 1940 to 1300. So he's looking forward to that.
My son as well.
Same. My son is staying, and he's moving to a different dorm, but he's staying on campus.
The only thing I'll add to mine is that my older son, I believe it was a senior year that he actually stayed in the View, which is technically not on campus, but it actually, for practical purposes, it is. So, it's, I had discussions with him about, whatever the subtle differences were with the nuances, but pretty much it's physically on campus. So it felt like the same thing.
One thing I would add, though, is you just want to make sure that your child is on top of those when it's time to pick a dorm room, and at that day and that time frame, you really want to be on top of that. So then you shouldn't have any issues at all. I think it's just, you just want to make sure that they're on top of the time to select a room.
And just to add to that, when you say on top, it's just their assigned specific time when they can go in and choose their room assignment. So make sure they're watching their emails, and that usually comes out second semester, I think for the next school year. So they need to just know the date and the time, because they only have 15 minutes from the time allotted. Kind of like what they do now, but to pick a room. So I just want to make sure I add to that.
In other words, it's a mad rush.
So I have a different experience. My daughter was at Vantage her sophomore year, and then she's been off campus her junior and senior year at privately rented apartments. It seems like people rent in the early fall. So it's so like October, November, kids will be making their rental reservations for the following year. So that begins a little earlier. If kids want to move off campus, they start a little earlier than if they're staying on campus. But my daughter had great opportunities and great experiences both off campus as well as at Vantage, which is similar to the View. It's right next door.
And just to add on to what Marlise was saying, their housing information should have gone to their Temple email either this past week or the week before. So make sure they're checking their Temple email, because that's where they'll receive most of their communication coming from the university. The next question. Do you all have any advice for students living off campus? And is there a lot of housing near campus?
So my daughter's going to be living off campus, but still within the patrol parameters. Which is highly important to us. Someone here may have that information, but there is a link on the Temple website that you can do a search of approved housing, meaning that they fall within the eligibility parameters that Temple has put out, that they meet the different criteria that Temple expects, as far as, I don't quote me, but like cleanliness and security and ease of contract information and so on and so forth, which is great. So that, I think, gives a little peace of mind when your student or you are searching for apartments or houses to rent, that you can be confident in whether or not they meet the criteria. I think, I forget what it's called. I'm drawing a complete blank, but like the diamond nest, something or other, which was really helpful for us. And the prices vary. We were fortunate also with, my daughter has an independent agreement, so it's not contingent on the other roommate that she has or roommates. It's strictly based on her. So that was really something that was appealing as well. I know that that isn't always an option. But again, same approach as what I said in the beginning. My daughter is a minimalist, so we're trying to coordinate what she thinks she needs, and then we'll get her things that she needs after the fact. As someone else had mentioned, it may have been Mary-Lise, you know, we can ship stuff in. She can order things off Amazon. I mean, the grocery store is just around the corner. She can go pick up cleaning supplies. So that's the one great thing about Philadelphia, is the convenience of so many things. There's a Target, there's a Walmart, I mean, there's a grocery store, things are relatively close.
And I would say also, this is probably very obvious, but pay attention to the terms of the lease, because it's not like on-campus housing at all. You're paying attention to your commencement date, your termination date of the lease, the notices that you have to give in order to terminate, and also the monthly payments that have to be made, how you handle disputes and things like that. If there is a dispute, what recourse, and I'm getting a little technical here, but what recourse the landlord could take in terms of like putting it into court, and whether or not they'll charge legal fees and things like that. So you just basically want to have a very thorough reading of the lease. And if you're not sure about the terms, take it to somebody who is sure. I know that we've put out articles on things to look for in a lease. I think it was either last year or maybe a year and a half ago, but it's somewhere in our website, or our site that we put out. I forget what you call our portal that we put out. But just pay attention to the terms of the lease is really what I'm saying. Very, very important.
My daughter's been off campus for the last 3 years, and I would just put out there that being within the Temple Patrol Zone has allowed her to utilize all the functionality with using the Flight, which is like a bus that drives around campus and takes you places, as well as what they call walking escorts, which often are on bicycles. They're Temple police officers or Temple security guards on bicycles. So she lives off campus, but she's only a block away from where where her practices are, and 2 blocks from her educational, dorm or buildings. And she can utilize all the services because she's within the Temple Patrol Zone of all the safety services that are available to all the Temple students on campus.
Okay, next question. Have any of your students studied abroad? If so, how early in their experience did they decide to do so? And was there an adjustment period in returning back to campus?
My son did it. My first son, and I'm trying to remember how early he actually had to put in for it, but I know it was very, very early. The prior year, of course, but it's very, very early. I would just recommend that you maybe look at the deadlines and then try to plan for much earlier. As far as the adjustment coming back, I don't think he had any adjustment coming back. As a matter of fact, we were more concerned about him than we needed to be, because he had a ball. He went to Paris, but he just went to so many other countries that are surrounded. When you ever go to Europe, you can just like visit so many countries, and it's not that difficult. So we did that, and he had no problems whatsoever. He came back. His adjustment coming back was really simple, really easy, no difficulty. Now that was before the pandemic, so I don't know if security situations, given the political situations right now around the world, vis-a-vis United States, I don't know if that complicates matters. But it was really simple for him, and the adjustment. And I would say that the Temple process that was in place was a very thorough and a very good one. The relationships that Temple had with other institutions abroad, it was very detailed, and it was very intentional the way that they put processes into place. So in terms of the programs that Temple has, they do a very thorough job at setting up these programs, and it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, my son is interested in doing the Temple Japan campus his second semester in junior year. So the advice that we've been given is to start planning this year, and also to take advantage of just the connections at Temple around the housing, to see if they're, because you have to think about that second semester, where what you're going to do with your housing, and connecting with other students who are also in the program, and maybe sync up where one can handle one semester of a dorm or a room, and you take the other semester. So that's something that we have to aggressively approach once the school year begins.
Okay, our next question. You touched on some of the safety services a moment ago, but on the topic of safety, for students who are not experienced with big city living, what are your thoughts on safety in and around Temple and Philadelphia?
I would say, just like with anything, they need to be aware of their surroundings. Don't take anything for granted. Don't think it's not going to happen to me. I mean, have a very common sense approach. Take advantage of some of the services that Dana had mentioned, like Flight, the walking escort. There's an app that you can request those services. There's phone numbers you can use as well to dial. I think there might even be things around campus. Olivia, you might know, but aren't there blue buttons or something on every corner? So there's a lot of opportunities there to feel safe. I would also encourage you to have a buddy if you can, but obviously if you can't, to definitely take advantage of those services. If they're gonna use, technology, encourage them to just put one AirPod in their ear so that they can still hear things that are happening around them. Don't be so focused and intent on their phone that they're not hearing or seeing something that could potentially happen to them. We've been very fortunate, knock on wood, but again, those are the advice that we've given, and my daughter has followed. So
I would say we come from the suburbs, so my daughter wasn't accustomed to being in the city, other than visiting. She's just very deliberate in her actions. She's a planner, so she plans. She has to walk from practices late at night. So she's very deliberate in planning who she's going to walk with, how she's going to get there. If she doesn't have a companion to be with, then taking advantage of either Flight and or the walking escort program, just so that she's with other people. So I think it's taught her to plan, to be aware when she's out, and to be deliberate in her actions, which I think are just good life lessons, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what everybody is saying, and I see a lot of the campus. So I know there's been a lot that's been said about security on campus in the past couple of years and things like that. But again, my son is going into his fourth year, and I'm on campus a lot, so I see what the campus is like. It's not just rumors that I'm hearing, but I actually see it because I'm dropping my son there sometimes very late at night, and I'm driving through the campus. So I would just say pretty much what everybody's saying. Be careful about students should be careful about where they're walking, the time of night that they're walking. And I know that it's difficult with students and everything, but it doesn't hurt for the parent to at least tell the child, be careful about how late you're walking, and then the student will just make their decision. Of course, they're going to take advantage of the services that are available on campus and things like that. I would also say just situational awareness as well. Trying to walk in the public area where people are and not down a street that's secluded. I think that's important. The body language, I think, is important, and just in general, just being aware.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well, because my son, we're from like really rural New Jersey almost now. Not used to the city, and I was very worried about him. But I I think they have like this overconfidence, and I did ask him to use some of the services, and he said, "Well, I'm a guy. I don't think I need an escort." So he refused to get one. But what he does, he has learned to always have someone with him. Like they go out in groups, they go out late at night, they go to parties, and I worry. But he always like makes sure he's not walking back by himself. They go together, they leave together, and there are certain areas he's like, oh yeah, we don't go there. He knows to avoid certain areas, and he kind of like they've become so much more aware of their surroundings, and say, oh no, this is not somewhere I would go. So that's something that the buddy system is very helpful, but I know for guys, they don't want to use the services. They kind of like shy away from it. Don't know. We can we it's not a manly thing to do. I don't know. But yeah, I would say make sure you keep talking to them. And of course, constantly I get the alerts sometimes, and so one thing that I did sign up for the alerts. I don't know if everyone's used that, but they get you get these alerts when something is happening anywhere around. Doesn't even have to be on campus. The school is very good at sending alerts and saying, "Hey, this is happening. This incident is happening." Just it could be blocks away, but you at least And I'll send it to him, and he's like, "Mom, I'm out. There's nothing going on, but at least." I'm kind of like making him aware, hey, it says this street and that street, stay away from there. So I would say sign up for the alerts if you can stomach it. But it's very helpful. To me, it was very helpful to have the alert so I'm aware of what's going on campus.
Yeah, I echo that. And we, myself and my wife, we're getting so concerned, very scared about these alerts coming in. I mean, you're sitting at home, you're getting an alert, you're at church, you're getting an alert, and it's like, oh my goodness, is this a really safe place? But really what's going on is they're erring on the side of safety and making sure that you're aware of everything that's going on. So it doesn't mean that it's a bad place. It just means that they want you to be informed, and they're erring on the side of giving you more information rather than less information.
And the app that was mentioned before, it's called the TU Safe app. If your students want to download that. Our next question, did any of your students work in their first year at Temple? Do you know if it's easy for students to find work on campus?
I can speak that my daughter did not work her first 2 years, but her junior year, she was proctoring law school exams, and she also worked as a peer teacher, which I think might be in an invitation. I'm not really sure how she acquired that, but she had two kind of very, very part-time things. It was Temple, centric, and she enjoyed both of them. So she worked a little bit, but it wasn't an overwhelming amount given her course load and her commitment to the cheer program.
Okay, our next question. What are some things you wish you knew when your student was new to Temple?
I wish I had known a little bit more about the Career Center and the things that are offered there. I would have been more proactive in getting him to go down there more, because there's just really a lot of opportunities and things to know down there, even from just getting headshots, free headshots, and there's just so many things. We didn't we weren't as aware as we should have been until the end of the year. So I would have taken more advantage of that.
I can't say enough about the Career Center, and I think that's such a great resource. I think that's one of the best resources that Temple has to offer. I encourage my son, like his first few weeks on campus, to go to the Career Center and have them do an audit of his resume that he was bringing in from high school, and they did such a great job. They helped him. They had like headshots available, and they do so much at Career Center, especially from the Fox School of Business. They have so many services available. His freshman year, he was able to secure an internship. He already has one lined up for next year. I would say use it because it's very helpful, and they do a great job. So that is something I would tell every parent to encourage them. Because even first few weeks, I was telling him, "Hey, go ahead and do this," and he's like, "I'm a freshman. I don't need to do this. I have plenty of time." And I kept nagging him until he did it. And they have so many things available that he was able to take advantage of everything they have to offer, and it's paid off really well for him. So I'm a huge proponent of the Career Center. Encourage them to go and sit down with an advisor.
Yeah, I agree with the issue of the advisors. I think that's one thing that I think um, going into it the first year, I think just understanding a little bit more about how the advisors are set up, even the Fly-In 4 program, I think that's just a wonderful program just to make sure that the student is on track to graduate after 4 years, to meet all the requirements and things like that. And they do check-ins and things like that. I think that's just so awesome.
Okay, our next question. Did you set expectations with your student on how often to expect to communicate with you?
I can jump in on this one, and I did not set an expectation because now, they're an adult and they're forming their own independence and spreading their wings. Needless to say, I stressed and strongly requested, just so I know that she's doing okay and that things are going well and she doesn't need anything, just to check in. Initially, it was just a couple of times a week, and it was hard because in the beginning, I think the it was like 3 days after, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to send her a text, but I held off and waited for her. And I think that was really good for both of us, that she didn't feel pressure from me or her dad. So I didn't set expectations. I just asked strongly to check in, and it turned out well for us. But that's our situation. So I don't know if somebody else has something else they want to share.
Well, we set I shouldn't say really set, but we had conversations, informal conversations about staying in touch. I don't know if that's what you call set, but they're pretty much going to do their own thing and communicate. But I do think it's important having several children in college that you understand, and I know everyone understands this, but just reiterating it that each child is different. Each child is different temperament. So there might be one standard for one child and another standard for another child, because one child might be very, very communicating with you all the time in general. And so if that child is silent and not communicating with you at college, it might be different than another child that's more, non-communicative, more quiet and things like that. So your child, you know how they communicate, and if you get the sense that there's something that's not right, then I would trust your gut and try to get in contact, because the last thing in the world you want is for there to be something going on and you're just saying, oh, I just want to give them their independence. And then there's something really going on that needs attention. So I would just trust your gut as a parent.
Okay, great. Our next question. Did you set up local bank accounts for your students when they started at Temple? How did they handle their finances?
Yes.
I
Okay, go ahead.
No, I said we didn't set up local bank accounts. He already had a banking account from home. He'd been working while he was in high school, so we didn't set up something new in Philadelphia. He was using the same account, but he's an accounting major and he's pretty good with finances. I didn't have to monitor that like I do my girls. But I have to, he's pretty, we did have the conversation, like he wasn't working on campus, so he had a certain amount that he was going to use and having that conversation with him, but having the unlimited meal plan, most of his expenses were meal related. They go off campus, they want to eat, they want to try all this different food. But because he had the unlimited meal plan, it helped with the expenses a little bit. I didn't even have to get him groceries. I think he had a filter and I didn't even have to get him cases of water. He's like, well, I'm just gonna get a filter and then he refills it and portable filter. But yeah, it wasn't so much where we needed to have that conversation with him about managing his finances, but I have a girl and I know what it's like having that conversation about managing your finances. But for him, it was kind of like seamless and he was very, very conscious of how he spends his money.
We had actually set him, even he did have an account before he left, but we did set him up with there's a bank that was on campus, I think it's PNC. So we did set him up with an account just for convenience, just in case he needed emergency funds. But he's got his mother's frugal genes, so he doesn't like spend money. So he's hasn't really been an issue with him.
Right, unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much to our panelists for joining us. You will see their contact information on the screen. They are more than willing to answer any follow-up questions you may have. In addition, we'll post the recording to this session in the Orientation Hub in the Parent and Family Experience portal shortly for your reference. And of course, our virtual parent and family orientation is continuing, so please visit the Hub to register for any of the upcoming listed webinars and to see recordings of this webinar and previous ones. Lastly, we will be sending you a survey shortly to ask how today's session has helped you as you prepare for your student to attend Temple in the fall. Please take a few minutes to let us know your thoughts. Thank you again to our panelists and to you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day.